Shall we begin then?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm preparing the live streaming. Just a minute, sir.
Definitely.
Yes, sir. We shall start, sir.
Yes. So, most respected speaker of the day, Dr. J. Jehosan Jiresh, Assistant Professor, Department of English and Cultural Studies, Christ University, Bengaluru. The heads of the department, Professor N. Aruldas and Dr. J. Mary Janaf, faculty members of the department, faculty members, research scholars, and students across the nation. Good evening to you all. Let me now request Professor Sarunan to host the session. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening to our esteemed resource person, beloved colleagues, and scholars from across the country. Welcome to day 3 of the National Level Virtual Faculty Development Program hosted by the Department of English, Sacred Heart College, Tirupattur. We began this 5-day intellectual odyssey on Monday with Dr. J. John Lovejoy, who set the stage by re-evaluating our assessment methods through portfolio assessment. He reminded us that the process of language acquisition is as important as the product. Yesterday, we moved our classroom to the cosmos. Reverend Dr. K. Maria Arogiraj, a session on environmental communication, challenged us to green our ELT practices and recognize the English teacher's vital role in ecological advocacy. From the practicality of day 1 and ecological awareness of day 2, we are now arrived at the critical juncture, the digital transformation of discipline. Today, we address the digital elephant in the classroom as AI, algorithms, and digital interfaces become our co-teachers. The boundaries of English studies are expanding. To help us navigate this, we have with us Dr. Jehosan Jerosh from Christ University, Bengaluru. He'll be guiding us through this topic, rebuilding English studies for digital futures through posthuman pedagogy. This session promises to decenter the traditional human and explore how we can teach in a world that is increasingly hybrid and tech augmented. To formally introduce our chief guest for this evening, may I now invite Professor D. Louis Sahai Einstein, Assistant Professor of English, Sacred Art, to take over the floor. Professor Einstein.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Your voice is not audible. Professor Instant, sir, could you unmute it? Yes, sir.
Good evening, one and all present here. We are honored to introduce our esteemed resource person for today's program, Dr. J. Jehosan Jerish, a distinguished academic currently serving as an assistant professor in the Department of English and Cultural Studies at Christ deemed to be University, Bengaluru. Dr. Jehosan Jiresh holds a PhD in English language teaching from Madurai Kamaraj University and is also pursuing a PhD in English literature at the Central University of Tamil Nadu. With over 12 years of rich academic experience, he has made significant contributions to teaching, research, and teacher education in the field of English studies. His areas of academic and research expertise include English language teaching, speaking skills, academic writing, learning-oriented assessments, cultural studies, and the integration of artificial intelligence in education. He is a proud recipient of prestigious 2024 TOEFL English Language Researcher Practitioner Grant, becoming the first Indian scholar to receive this international recognition. Dr. Jehoson Jiresh also serves as a resource person and teacher trainer with Oxford University Press, India, and is the editor-in-chief of LTI monthly newsletter. A prolific researcher and engaging speaker, he has published extensively in reputed journals and edited volumes and has delivered over 70 invited lectures, workshops, and plenary sessions at national and international platforms. His sessions are widely appreciated for their effective integration of theory and practice, offering insightful, inclusive, and future-ready perspectives on education, language, culture, and technology. Today's session focuses on theme Rebuilding English Studies for Digital Futures, a topic that is both timely and essential in reimagining language education in the age of technology. To guide us through this evolving landscape, we are privileged to have with us Dr. Jehoson Jiresh, whose work and experience in English studies and pedagogy offer valuable insights into how English studies can adapt, innovative, and remain relevant in the digital era. We are delighted to have you with us today, dear sir, and look forward to an enriching and thought-provoking session. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Enston, for that warm and gracious introduction. We are indeed honored to have such a distinguished present with us today. Before we begin, a quick reminder to the participants. Please keep your microphones muted and post your queries in the chat box. External participants, the feedback link will be shared towards the end of the program. Thank you. Dr. Jehoson Jiresh, the virtual floor is yours. We are eager to explore the digital futures with you, sir.
Tarunan sir, kindly allow the speaker to share a screen.
I'll enable it, sir. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, professors. Thank you for the cordial and elaborate introduction to the guests. And also, thank you for the opportunity, especially Professor Madan Kumar, the Department of English faculty members and the management of the Sacred Heart College. It's been a pleasure being associated with the college. I remember it was way back in 2017 or 18. I would say I accepted the request through one of our mutual friends who is an alumni of the college, I believe. And it was on banned books in literature. I should acknowledge that it was a 3-hour long session, after which the preparation and presentation at that point in time had a lasting impact in my understanding of socio-cultural realities around that. With all that discussions on banning cultural product, especially a thick description that's made by human intelligence, co-intelligence, along with the understanding of society. We do not ban ideas, we do not ban works, rather we ban ideas. That was an eye-opener for me in terms of my understanding of language, literature, and culture. So after 7-8 years, to reconnect with the same institution again in a virtual platform, I'm really happy. In between also, few occasions, my professor, Professor N. Ilango, after visiting the institution, had good words to say about the hospitality and also the enthusiasm in the department to take scholarship in English language, literature, and literature studies to the next level. And this FDP is also a testament to the fact that they want to advance knowledge. They would love to make English studies more relevant and also more interesting and engaging for the larger audience of at this point in time. So if one of the organizers let me know that if my voice is audible, I will proceed with the same pace and volume. Is it
Yes, sir.
audible, or should I have to be
Yes,
little
sir.
louder?
No, sir.
Yes, sir. You are very much audible, sir.
Very
Yeah.
much audible. It
Your
is
voice is
balanced, sir.
clear.
Thank you, sir. Kindly proceed,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I've shared the screen as well. Hope that is visible too.
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
And when I move, it moves, right? Sometimes when I move, it doesn't move for the participants screen. When
Oh,
I,
it's working properly.
yeah, okay, fine. So yeah, with this, let us get into the session. I understand for the past 2 days, though I wanted to join, but because of other academic and personal commitments, I couldn't join the first 2 days. But I understand from the feedback given by the organizers, it was engaging and also informative. And this talk is an offshoot of one of our long-lasting existential questions. Why do we do English studies, or what is it doing in a world that is completely automated, changing towards something that is less human in our traditional sense or so. And it was during that time when I was able to pen an opinion article for the Education Plus of the Hindu. Professor Madan Kumar spoke to me, and he asked me whether we can do a session similar to that idea. So this is a constant question for the past 2 or 3 years, when we saw dwindling numbers in terms of takers for English courses. Not only, it's not a phenomenon only in Tamil Nadu or India, it's a global phenomenon. We saw news reports in The Guardian, Washington Post talking about many traditional institutions, traditional institutions closing BA English degree programs. So it's not only about our livelihood, but also about understanding the significance of such a discipline that would inform the larger business oriented disciplines like science, technology, commerce, and others. So why is it important, and where we should be taking it further so that it finds itself in the places where it is required? That's the question that we should be asking ourselves at this point in time, as scholars, teachers, and students who we may also fight a kind of an identity crisis. Most of us would agree with me when I say that in most of our institutions, the significance given to the English departments per se are not so welcoming. The reason is the point that we do not generate revenue like the other domains or disciplines. Whether we agree with or not, this has been the truth. This is the truth among in a more economy driven, market driven, commercially vibrant academic space, which also focuses on employability. Students these days focus more on, whoever comes to college, they have a question about the placements, their employability after completing this course. So when we have to answer such questions from a very quantitative perspective, it's very difficult to rationalize the existence of such departments in the arts and science colleges, or any university, private or public university. So, having been given the responsibility to find answers or find alternative narratives that would portray us as more relevant than ever, we'll have to understand the spirit of the time, right? Though we understand that literature transcends different boundaries, literary expressions or narratives or critical understanding of literature and culture transcends boundaries, we must also understand that literary narratives for ages have been a product of the spirit of the time. When we look into literature during the time of Newton, the time in terms of literary production was also absolute, just like Newton's understanding of time. When later in the 20th century, when Einstein came up with the ideas of relativity and all that, literary time space also became relative, right? We may call it the zeitgeist, whether we agree with it completely or not, whether the scientific spirit or social spirit of the time shapes literary narratives or literary narratives shape scientific spirit. It can be vice versa here and there. But at the end of the day, the narratives that can reflect the scientific spirit of the time or envision the future science from that time are the ones that are more successful, the ones that can leave a lasting impact in human understanding of literary production. Or now starting when I say Newton and Einstein, now literary narratives are non-linear, film narratives are non-linear. We call Nolan-esque kind of narratives where you don't find a linear progression. And sometimes as lecturers or teachers, we also follow a non-linear way in terms of delivering lectures or talks to our students or participants in an FDP of this kind. That resonates the scientific spirit in which Stephen Hawking understood the universe. So we'll have to understand the scientific spirit of the time and continue to ask the critical questions that we have been asking without developing a self-defeating stance. It's not that the moment we adopt science into language, literature, or cultural studies classes, it's not that we are going to cease from posing those challenging questions that has, in a way, envision a progressive tomorrow. We are not going to cease posing such questions. Rather, we are going to pose those questions scientifically. We are supposed to pose those questions with scientific temper, progressive thinking, rationality, and with a flair for social justice, equity, and empathy. So we are continuing to ask such questions, but not with a nostalgic gaze. That's something I'll be talking about briefly, and then I'll get into how do we rebuild English studies for the digital futures. We call it the post-human pedagogy. As you know, uh, post-human moves beyond the understanding of human, the anthropocentric understanding of human, and views knowledge as a social device which is constructed through distributed cognition. To cite Hutchins, probably distributed cognition, whether we require a calculator to expand our arithmetic knowledge. That way, we understand construction of ideas henceforth is post-human in nature. It has been post-human for a time immemorial, but for the fact that we need a vocabulary to understand how we have become a post-human. Say, for example, I often pose these questions to the participants in such lectures, and how when did we become a post-human, or since when humans became a cyborg. If Donna Haraway uses the word cyborg, a combination of machine and humans, we would think that we became cyborgs probably after the advent of a mobile phone, or after internet or artificial intelligence or so. But then the moment we started making cooked food, we started becoming less natural or more artificial, if we can use the word. The moment we started changing the nature of the food that we consume, right? Just because we give a nomenclature artificial to artificial intelligence, that doesn't baptize the rest, the all other sources of acquiring knowledge as natural. such binary should be subverted, or sometimes it has to be pluralized, right? Because the moment we say artificial intelligence, all the ways of acquiring knowledge or all the ways of developing perception about the world need not be natural, right? So this is a false binary. We learned from several sources. I remember in one of the recent interviews, the musician Maestro Ilayaraja, when the anchor asked him, "What do you think about artificial intelligence's impact on music production?" He made a statement that I myself is an artificial intelligence. When people might think that it would be one another expression from the arrogant fence that Ilayaraja has or so. It's only a criticism. Rather, it was not that. He said he asked a question back to the anchor. The knowledge that you know about media, the knowledge that you know about handling an interview, do you think all these are natural? Then the interviewer says, of course, yes, it's natural. Then he poses the question, are you born with this intelligence? Then the answer is obviously no. So you learn from different sources: ecology, society, your teachers, your the books that you read, or probably the internet sources. It's distributed, and we cannot have a rigid binary that there is a difference between naturalness of intelligence and artificialness of intelligence. How, what extent our natural intelligence in itself is artificial? When we start asking such questions, that takes us to a post-human understanding of knowledge, and hence a post-human pedagogy that is required to rebuild English studies. So this is for us to understand. Each era must reimagine what learning means. So the shift is from a carbon-based intelligence, the human understanding of intelligence, carbon-based, the brain-based intelligence, human brain, human memory, human judgment, all these are considered carbon-based intelligence. There to silicon-based intelligence. So can we test carbon-based intelligence in the age of silicon-based intelligence? So the questions might come. Then do you mean to say that the intelligence gained through human interaction, human memory, human judgment is less complex than the silicon-based intelligence? No, that's not the argument. The argument is it is significant. Carbon-based intelligence at its time is significant. Even today, it is significant. If silicon-based intelligence is democratized and accessible to everyone, the one who can relate quickly, or associate with theory with a practice, with human, what you consider as brain mapping, they would be able to perform better in terms of presentations, in terms of argumentations, or in terms of pitching an idea. So any day, carbon-based intelligence, we are not demeaning. At the same time, we also agree that it's significant, but it is not sufficient. Let's not forget this phrase. The intelligence of yesteryears are significant, but it's not sufficient, because the technology of the time has revolutionized the way in which knowledge is consumed and produced. So we cannot confine to the knowledge the way in which we learned 100 years ago, right? We probably, as academicians, we would be using the Bloom's taxonomy or so. But the same argument goes well with the understanding of revised Bloom's taxonomy. The revised Bloom's taxonomy was institutionalized in 2001, and it's at least a quarter century old now. So it is significant, but it is not that sufficient to answer the problems of today or the challenges of today. So English studies, traditionally understood as humanistic, interpretive, trying to understand narratives from the perspective of the producer, must evolve into a cognitive exercise, a cultural exercise, and ethical architecture. When we use the word architecture, these are tall claims. These are tall claims, hypothetical claims made by transhumanist projects, offshoot of posthumanism. Transhumanism tries to enhance human ability in terms of lifespan, in terms of physical ability, and in terms of intelligence. So lifespan through biotechnology, physical ability through genetic engineering, and intelligence through artificial intelligence. Some of the tall claims they make, in the course of time, human understanding of disciplines would be blurred. A doctor can produce engineering knowledge, an engineer can produce medical knowledge, or an English studies graduate can produce knowledge in the field of aviation. I agree these are far-fetched and it might sound like science fiction in an utopian context or so, but we see that today. We see that today. Let me, with all honesty, agree and with some intellectual honesty, to claim that I am all honest is a hypocritic statement. Rather, with all intellectual honesty, I should agree, we get into disciplines that are not traditionally ours and explore knowledge there, and we make a living out of it. Whether we like it or not, whether we agree with it or not, that's the truth. Right? We can produce knowledge in any domain if we have a linguistic competence that is interpretive in nature, and if it can pose the right questions, we can produce knowledge in any domain. Right? So associating quantum computing with understanding of Stuart Hall's coding, decoding, or Foucault's understanding of surveillance through panopticon or so, is not that difficult at this point in time. You find a scientific theory that aligns with the cultural expression or so, quickly you write a prompt that vets both and you produce new knowledge. So let's not call it trespassing, but expanding our boundaries to different disciplines and producing new knowledge with a contra-disciplinary spirit. When I think Saikat Majumdar, the professor, uses this term, maybe he used it some 10 years ago, contra-disciplinary. Interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, we often think of wedding disciplines that are closer, social sciences with arts, or say, for example, music with language. These are closer disciplines, but how about connecting disciplines that are found on the other side of the spectrum, like physics, and that's just like what I said, quantum physics, and understanding production of messages in a cultural context, right? So these are such diverse ways in which we understand knowledge production and consumption is possible at this point in time. Traditionally, though, there were people who were ahead of their times, who could find these links between different domains or disciplines at different realms of history, but there was no mechanism to convert those into evidence-based academic knowledge. Today we have the luxury. If one can talk, one can think aloud, they can produce knowledge thanks to chatbots, but it requires, I'm not making it simplistic. Don't think that I'm simplifying the way in which knowledge is produced. No, it's not. Technology is for smart people. If we do not use it with critical thinking and more care in terms of evaluating the content, our ignorance can be exposed as well. Right. So English studies, from traditional understanding of humanist interpretive domain, being an interpretive domain, must evolve into a cognitive idea generating space, not only within the realms of humanities, but it can inform architecture, it can inform digital spaces, it can inform medicine. Tomorrow, I believe we have a session on health humanities. That's something which is, I have a growing interest towards health humanities in the past couple of years, especially when we come across different narratives of illness or fitness kind of narratives around different parts of the world, the rising alarms in terms of cancer or whatsoever. But then, with all these skepticism, we should be confident that we are more equipped than ever with all the glorification of the past. I told you that the self-defeating stance is we have a nostalgic gaze, which is predominantly an exotic gaze, I would say. Our ancestors lived gloriously. They were the ones who had attained all kinds of peace of the world, and they were living a glorious life. But an anthropological study or an archaeological study, a historical study would really give us different kinds of pictures. Maybe there was riches in the palaces, but not amongst commoners. Accessibility to public spaces or accessibility to medicine. What was the life expectancy? Even if you take a Vedic age or so, if at all we can prove, what is the life expectancy today? So it tells us we are more equipped today than our so-called golden ages of the past. Right. So the idea is we should not be finding a golden age in the past. Literature for a long time, I'm not saying every one of us, we are doing such a nostalgic gaze or so. Rather, for a long time, in terms of our syllabi, in terms of our testing, in terms of our teaching, we are trying to find a glorious past. Novel, the Victorian age, which means glorify the Victorian, understanding, Victorian intelligence, putting the author in a pedestal, right? So we are always trying, even within the Indian context, right? Any age for that matter, we are in a pursuit to find a glorious golden age in the past. But a futuristic English studies pedagogy should envision a glorious age in the future, right? We can only gain pride in saying that no, that to the real pride of an ancestry or a culture or a particular group of people comes from the way in which they treated the other. If we have this as the yardstick and go back to our history, we do not find such glorious movements. Rather, that's the reason why we must continue to ask our literary cultural questions using science to business, right? Without having a self-defeating stance against science, we can envision a golden age in the future. Even if we have questions against technology, predominantly the question is not against technology, rather it is against the human instincts behind it. Right. So we can inform different domains if we use our interpretive skills in a scientific manner. When I say scientific manner, again I want to reiterate, we may pursue any discipline the moment we enroll ourselves for a course, be it mathematics, be it economics, English, or Tamil, or any language for that matter. The moment we enroll for a course, we are put in different schools, arts and humanities, social sciences, right? And the idea that I have discussed in the article as well, no one wants the arts and humanities tag. Everyone wants a science tag within them, right? Even the media studies wanted to shift towards social sciences, right? And now only philosophy had its natural death in the academia. History, I do not know how many colleges offer, right? English is fighting a lonely battle to save the face of humanities, but how long we do not know. But with this nostalgic case, personally, I don't see a future looking at things happening around. But the idea is the moment we enroll ourselves for a course, the methodical rigor is scientific. We may study grammar, we may study culture, we may study films, we may study artistic expressions or thick descriptions, as Clifford Geertz says in advertisements, memes. It can be any study. The moment we make that part of an academic exercise, the methodology is scientific, right? Only then we can produce knowledge for the future. All those who believe that we cannot have these yardsticks for production of knowledge in or dissemination of knowledge in science, or dissemination of knowledge in arts and humanities, we would agree with the fact that those who have produced knowledge in arts and humanities are also people who took a scientific method to arrive at a logical conclusion or conclusions for that matter. So we can inform any discipline with our methodical scientific approach. The more we question scientifically, the more we approach those problems scientifically, we inform those domains with a more progressive mindset. Now we have health humanities, we have digital humanities, but the point that we are not able to contribute. Enlarging the screen. 1 minute. Give me. How do I do that?
So just
Is the
go to
screen visible to all of you?
It is visible, sir, but it looks very small.
Okay.
Participants are requesting you to enlarge it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
corner where the 3 dots are available on the right corner, sir. In the Chrome,
Where, sir? Can you please?
In the Chrome, you are using it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Click the 3 dots, zoom it, zoom.
Yes.
There is an option.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The regular one. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Is this fine? Is this fine?
No, sir.
Is this fine, sir?
No, sir. The slide has not increased. Is it in a PDF or some other
I
format?
share using Figma.
Okay.
Oh, the slide is not increasing.
Yes, sir. Or else you can share us the PPT. We'll enlarge and project.
Okay,
it.
I'll share the link with you, sir.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sorry to interrupt, sir.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Give me a minute.
Sure, sir.
I've emailed, sir. I've emailed.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I'll continue. Probably. Should I stop sharing then, sir?
Sir, you continue, sir. Meanwhile, I'll download and I'll play it from my side, sir.
Okay, fine.
Sure, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry
Yeah.
for the inconvenience.
Yeah, that's fine. So that's the idea. We can inform different fields, continuing with our critical spirit. So the problem that we are not able to produce knowledge in health humanities or digital humanities is that we bring in our nostalgic gaze again to this digital space, that glorifying of the past or maybe exotic view of the indigenous archival kind of an approach towards indigenous narratives, tribal narratives, or so. That's kind of self-defeating, as I said, or maybe in health humanities, without evidence-based understanding, glorifying a pseudo-scientific practice, or glorifying a superstitious ritual, or glorifying an alternative medicine that are not standardized or so. We can criticize the practice between. So the idea is there is nothing called, the allopathy versus the other binary. Allopathy is a name given by the founder of homeopathy, I believe. One for scientific understanding, there are only standard medicine and non-standard medicine. Standard medicines are those which has passed the laboratory understanding of its viability. So any medicine on the other side, if it can meet the laboratory requirements, it can become part of the standard medicine as well. But without knowing about its scientific traits or scientific understanding of or its components, when we glorify the other with our harsh criticism towards the sciences, that's fine, it's required. See, every other minute, every other second, we are informed by science. We are benefited by science, yet the most criticized one in the world is technology. Not even God or not even politicians or whatsoever. No, the most criticized, technical failure. Now I'm not able to zoom this properly because of my ignorance of this system. But quick blame would be a technological failure also. But that is good in a way. Since it's more criticized, it evolves better. More the criticism, it finds new ways of making it better. So AI-driven reality transforms reading, writing, and research into co-creative human-machine dialogues. So this is the understanding with which we get into this session. So gone are those days we passively consume knowledge. Rather, we are co-creators who co-construct knowledge as part of the system. So English studies, the traditional foundations, after analyzing some of the course objectives, outcomes of leading universities or colleges in India and abroad, the classical objective that you find is cultivate empathy and imagination. So how do we do that? We believe that by literary inquiry and narrative thinking, we are able to develop emotional and cultural literacy that would help us develop. Thank you, sir. Maybe we can go to the next slide. Yeah, this one, sir. Thank you. So number two, develop language mastery. That's to rhetoric, grammar training, or discourse skills in communicative language teaching. So the outcomes are communication. We are able to persuade an idea, pitch an idea, argue for, and then we exhibit fluency. These are all the outcomes. And then fostering cultural critique. Ethical and aesthetic sensibility is the function through which we understand that the outcomes are we create global citizens who are pluralistic in nature. How far it is measurable is the question. That's where there is a kind of people looking down at English studies. There are no measurable outcomes that we can show. That's where social relevance comes into play. We'll see how that can be adopted in the contemporary context. How to extend these classic aspirations to the digital, algorithmic, and data-fied world. Here, my argument is that we are not going to deviate from our classical aspirations of English studies. If we do so, we miss out on the essence of the domain in itself. So how do we resonate the scientific spirit yet continue to achieve our aspirations in terms of cultivating empathy and imagination, developing language mastery, and to foster cultural critique? Sir, please. Next slide. Yeah. So the relevance crisis, this is what we were talking about. I started teaching in 2013, and I started studying English literature from 2007. So in a way, I saw the boom and burst of this cycle. Right, I remember BA English departments having 3-4 sections and students overflowing the class, literally sitting outside the door, putting their ears inside to the lecture or so. All this happened between probably 2013, 10 to 17, 18 or so. The most wanted course in an arts and science college after commerce was always English. Now, with all humility, probably we'll have to agree with the point that that's not the case. Why is it so? Because we were creating a bubble, teachers producing students, and students then becoming teachers, and they teach to the students, and those students will become teachers again. Exceptionally, here and there, we produced some few media personnel, or film personnel, or politicians, administrators, bureaucrats, or only a handful. Predominantly, we produced teachers. So when the world understood that if studying this per se will not produce so many other opportunities to lead a dignified, self-respect driven life, uh, the number of entrants to the classroom decreased. So what happens? The burst cycle started. To be very honest, when we start new programs in BA or MA, more than the number of applications for admissions, people get more number of applications for job opportunities as teachers. I'm being honest, that's the truth. Right. And perception of irrelevance. Humanities is seen as non-technical and nostalgic. As I said, I've discussed this in detail. Disengagement from science and technology. That doesn't mean that we should shift our focus towards other disciplines. Rather, what is the functionality of asking such questions? Right, having a postmodern understanding of a text or an architecture. What is the end? No, talking to scientific people sometimes makes us feel more that's what I said, the identity crisis. When we hosted a conference on health humanities, a professor from Nimhans, a neurologist, couldn't withstand, the nostalgic arguments made by teachers of English about healthcare, mental healing, self-healing, and all those things. At the same time, when we talk about all this, the one thing they ask is, what is the conclusion? Where is the proof? What is the conclusion? So if we can work out in terms of finding evidence-based understanding of all these narratives that we build on, then it's fine, right? So cultural mistrust of computational thinking or canonical confinement to colonial texts, right? And look at our the syllabi, in which how do we understand literature per se. These days, no, the idea of text has transcended several, no, what do I say? It's transcended the canonical understanding of a literary text. Can we consider a water bottle as a text in a cultural materialism class? Or can an airport be literary text? Can I apply Lefebvre's spatial understanding, or no, spatiality in understanding an airport, or maybe understanding of how airports are seemingly accessible, or airports are seemingly exclusive in nature, can we make such studies treating those people who come in and come out of the airports as characters? Do we look at a literary understanding from this perspective, so that by the end of the research, we also have something to offer to the social understanding of academic pursuits, and can offer something to the policy making aspect of society as well. So English studies is seen as beautiful but economically redundant, right? Even during the burst cycles, if we are being honest, many did not come to a class to study Auden or Achibe or Shakespeare or Dryden. Of course, there were people, few minuscule minority, who went for the sheer flair of reading, and many who are captivated by the teaching learning practices in our institutions, who got interest later. But predominantly, why did we have a boom cycle? The English studies had a boom cycle because there were job opportunities. There were plenty of teaching opportunities in engineering colleges, schools, wherever, right? So when that was not there, it's so natural that people are reluctant to get into it. So repositioning English studies requires aligning its intellectual power with affective, communicative, and ethical needs of the AI world. We are not deviating from our ethical questioning, but the needs are changing. So the ways in which we understand English studies should be changed. Next slide, please, sir. Why do we rebuild now? The AI revolution in itself is something which is unimaginable. Today, in my cultural materialism class, the assignment, as you would have discussed on the first day, we do not have a written test or so. We believe in portfolios or exhibitions or term papers predominantly. One of the assignments is to choose a space and select the objects that are found in the space and how those objects are connected with each other using theories of culture industry, commodity fetishism, Bruno Latour's actor network theory, or Brown's thing theory, how the objects have multifaceted dimensions in terms of its utility, its aesthetic value, its socio-economical value, the status part, or the cultural value, or different dimensions to an object, and how those objects form a network within themselves, how they form nodes, how they form edges. And one of the students wanted to do the assignment on the parking space. So when we were discussing how parking spaces have evolved over time, in terms of its geography, in terms of its operation, in terms of automated parking or so, one of the envisioning of automatic cars is that a car standing idle at a space for 8 hours is seen redundant. Whether we like it or not, this is the truth. Say, I go to my university, my car waits there for 9 to 5 o'clock, and then I take it back to my home and it's here till the next day morning. What if my car is on autopilot? Hypothetically, it drops me there at 9. Then I program it that you can come back and pick me at 4:30 or something. Yeah, there are questions. What if I need it in between and all that? But then till that time, it goes, picks up people, and it works as a taxi for me. Many of you would know such narratives. So that's how utilitarian the world is moving towards. Here we have problems of where is the human touch. So technology is not here to dehumanize us, rather to rehumanize ourselves. So such questions of existence, what will the drivers do? What will be their livelihood? Such questions come, but that doesn't mean that this is not going to happen. So before it could happen and create existential crisis, we should question it, not to stop it, but to empower others who can take part in it in a segueing manner. So it's evolving fast. With all the advancements we see around us, artificial intelligence is at its nascent stage, is at its beginning stage. At its beginning stage, if it can do this, right, what it can do in the future. This morning I saw an article. I did not read it completely, so I may not be able to explain it. Artificial intelligence is also seen as a biological member. That's the claim made. I might read it after this session or so. So AI to artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence. Artificial intelligence merely means that it can do things like pattern matching. I made a pattern matching. It can create lesson plans for you. All that which you can do, rather it does in a more organized manner and quickly. And general intelligence does both what humans can do along with something that is more specific in nature. Super intelligence is beyond both. It can achieve things which humans cannot do. So each stage depends new literacies, whether it is AI or AGI or super intelligence for that matter. It requires new literacies. That doesn't mean that we are removed from this system. Rather, how we question the process, how we allow the machines around us to understand society better through our data sets, how we create green algorithms, how we clean our own biases by questioning ourselves on daily basis, or the new literacies required. So if we can achieve what humans can do, that's one stage. What machines can do, that's another stage. Achieving something that's beyond machines and humans, the artificial super intelligence, is something else. So to know the difference, human learning is causality and reason based. This happened because something else has happened before. The next thing happens because this has happened now. Machine learning, correlation and probability. It makes mathematical calculations, permutations, patterns. So we are here to bridge the semantic gap between human meaning and algorithmic inference. What do I mean is context engineering. If at all there is a missing gap in AI revolution, that gap can be plugged only by literary scholars. I make this statement probably should sound far-fetched because that's the gap that has to be bridged. Context engineering. How do we give a context to our machines? That would resonate. That should not resonate human biases. If at all, this is a very disturbing example. No, when a healthcare AI system identified African American patients predominantly as gorillas or so, but then quickly we blame the machines or technology for that. Rather, technology resonates human biases. It resonates the way in which a racist doctor would look at an African American patient. That's what technology does. That's where English studies or literature studies, cultural studies should jump into. That's where we are supposed to plug in the serious gap in AI revolution. That is by setting the right context, providing the right context to the artificial intelligence chatbots or large language models. So English studies must bridge the semantic gap between human meaning and algorithmic inference. How, whether they are racially neutral, whether they are sensitive towards Indian caste slurs, or whether they are sensitive towards gender differences, right? So this is where we'll have to plug in. So there are new roles that are emerging. AI analysts interprets data patterns using linguistic and cultural logic, And some of my students who completed MA last year are into these professions, which gives them a decent pay at this point in time, probably around 70,000-80,000 per month. AI analysts who have good linguistic competence to train the data sets, right? Their vocabulary should be strong, because in a prompt, if you add a word like inquisitive, the word in a way changes the entire manner in which the response is generated before. So you need people who are strong in vocabulary in terms of understanding which word should be used at which part of the prompt. Data annotator curates meaning for machine understanding through words, categories, and context. It teaches the machine. Data annotators teaches the machine to derive ideas, to derive meaning from maybe pictures, tables, or whatsoever. One AI ethicist evaluates narrative bias and moral implication of language models, especially the chatbots with which we chat in our Zomato app or any app for that matter. These are the places where we can get into knowledge producers and knowledge curators. Do we have a pedagogy that would create these kind of students? We don't have to do much. Even if we make our assessments AI driven, when we detect AI in our assessments, what happens is people hide and use it. Rather, we incorporate it. Ask them to list the prompts that they are using to generate an idea. Let's give, say, if the assignment is for 20 marks, 5 marks are for the prompts. They'll have to add the prompts. And one classical way of analyzing whether the learner who produced the text in a portfolio assessment is to have a Viva OC examination, checking them for conceptual clarity. Just a 2-minute test would do to see whether they have understood what they have produced, or do they have working knowledge of what they have produced. AI ethicist evaluates narrative bias, moral implications. The moment we start incorporating AI into our assessments, they are forced to negotiate, talk, mitigate biases, challenge their own inefficiencies, inaccuracies, check for its hallucinations. It generates on its own, generative AI, artificial generative AI. It sometimes generates sources which are not true. Just like something happened to a judge a few months ago when was sentencing, reading the judgment. Some out of the 11 cases that were quoted as precedents, 4 or 5 never existed, hallucinated ones. That's where our ignorance can be exposed, right? So students, when we mark them for these criteria, like whether their references are truly complete or they are authentic, accurate, by working with the AI models, they would come up with a prompt to do away with these hallucinations. That's the skill that they require as literary cultural scholars or linguists in the future. Please, sir, next slide. So, where do we derive the theoretical grounding from? We cannot simply say this should be the future without a theoretical grounding. Actor network. Knowledge emerges from interactions between people, tools, and technologies. Brain is not something that we believe is innate and it has its own knowledge in a natural manner. The carbon-based intelligence is also through different sources. Anthropology of technology. Machines extend human imagination. They do not replace it. So many examples we can talk about. For want of time, I move on. But AOT, Anthropology of Technology, which is now the theme of this year's international conference at my campus is on Anthropology of Technology in terms of language, literature, and cultural studies. AOT, like Internet of Medical Things. This is for cultural critiques to reveal how technology has influenced language and how language has in turn influenced technology, how literature is influenced by technology, or how culture. There is nothing in the culture which is unturned by no technology, which is not touched by technology. No, our faith systems, beliefs, they keep on evolving with technology. Recently, when in a casual conversation I had with a couple of my friends, we even thought, even if there is a superpower as people believe in God, God is also evolving, right? It's an idea that was really interesting to me, because the way in which people perceive God evolves, so God should also evolve. No, God cannot be the same. They say no, God is not changing every other day. It's no, it's a philosophical religious claim, but the people who are governed by God, if they are evolving, their God should also evolve logically. So machines extend human imagination, they do not replace it. Let me give you one example, like how belief systems evolve. No, the way in which people pray for ailments. 100 years ago, if someone has a stomach ache or so, the prayer would be for a miraculous cure. But today, in a rational space, the prayer is not about miraculous cure. Rather, we pray for choosing the right doctor, right medication. We pray for the treatment to work with the person in a better way. All these tell us that our belief systems evolve. We believe in science, but for a moral comfort sake support, we have a superpower kind of understanding that governs us, so that we are feeling comfortable. But the problem is when we cross the boundaries. No, I am reminded of a dialogue from a very old Tamil film. I do not know who uttered it. Rather, it says, if anyone says that whatever the person above me will take care, then that is bhakti, devotion. But if someone says, I will have to take care of the person above me, then that becomes no fanaticism. No, that's the difference. No, very fine line. But the way in which how the superpower takes care of us is evolving, depending on the healthcare systems available. It's evolving. Is this good? Yeah. So posthumanism, collaboration between a carbon and silicon intelligence that restores balance, not hierarchy. This is something that's important. It's so convenient for people to say technology has dehumanized us. After being benefited by technology, those who can exploit human labor can make such statements. Let's not be carried away by that fact, by that argument, by those arguments, because technology can be exploited, not humans. So making use of technology is not wrong, but exploiting people is wrong, right? When there are records of ancient, palaces in India, we always read the glorified narratives predominantly. One thing you see, there is a expression in the Indian context, Tamil context, where people colloquially say, it's kind of derogatory to say that. They say Tivetti Dadiyan, something of that kind. A person, it literally means someone who holds a pot with fire, right? And the person is body shamed for their well-built nature. That's the expression altogether. Someone who is holding a pot full of fire inside it, and this person is well-built. From where did this expression come from? In the palaces, wherever light is required after the day, there were people who would hold watermelons. The inside fruity, juicy part is removed, a cloth is put with oil, and there is a lamp-like structure. They hold on to it till the time they require light. Maybe they had shifts or not, we do not know. Why? Because we must understand the pain the person enduring has to endure. But when there was an invasion, the invader, I do not want to say who the palace king was to have such a practice and who the invader was, because that would turn this into a political debate. I don't want to get into that. Rather, want us to introspect the fact how we have glorified human labor by demeaning technology. The invader records in their historical context that a technology of putting the lamp on a rod and placing it on a holder on a wall was not required for this palace, because there were humans to be exploited. And for the downtrodden people, though it is tiresome for them to hold on to the burning fire using a watermelon all through the night or so, for them it is a job opportunity. It is the only scope through which they can enter into a palace. So the technology to replace that, though it was available, was not required. Right? In the modern context, I would equate that with one of my friends, very own friends. Even if he is part of this discourse, he wouldn't I believe he wouldn't find it wrong to make this statement at this point in time, because we have discussed this for a long time. He is a landowner. He has a lot of land in his native space, and he lives in Bangalore. And he cannot live without Siri or iPhone or an Amazon Echo box or so. Rather, he would say farming is spoiled by technology. Tractors and all those, they spoil the organicness of technology, right? And now he's a changed person. I should also acknowledge that. Then I asked, how do you say that? Because farming should be done by humans, because it's natural. We will have to contest it. Farming is not natural. No, people might say, oh, farming, agriculture is natural. No, the moment we tame the world, tame the earth, land for its produce from growth, then it's not natural at all. The point is, he gets cheap labor, cheap Dalit labor for 100 rupees, 200 rupees per day. He did not even think of investing on technology to do farming there, right? But that person cannot live without a technology. So this is how we are hypocritic in several other aspects of our life on daily basis. But a post-human understanding, expanding our intelligence to machines and making use of them in a better manner would ensure a more balanced socialist society. I live just opposite IKEA in Bangalore, the Swedish furniture brand, which is for middle class and the lower middle class in Sweden, because it's predominantly the do-it-by-yourself model, wherein you pick up raw material, come back home and do it, because it's required in Sweden, because carpentry, the labor is high. So a middle class or a lower middle class will not be able to afford it. Whereas we have a different model here. Here you would find people clicking pictures of those models there, and they would employ their carpenters to replicate it, which means even if we say carpenters charge 1,000 rupees per day, when I make these arguments, these are the counter arguments. No, you don't know masons, how much they charge. How much do they charge? 3,000? Okay, fine. How many days they get? I don't think they charge 3,000 and all that. How many days do they work? What is the physical labor there? Right? We don't look into those kind of aspects, and we make plain statements. They make more money. Those days masons come in buses or cycles. Today everyone has a motorbike. What is your problem? What is our problem? Right? So we can exploit technology but not people. But people who are comfortable exploiting people with a landlordish mentality, they are the hypocrites who would say technology is dehumanizing. Rather, technology is rehumanizing. Democratization of technological access to different sections of society would empower them. Here, maybe it might sound political, but I don't mean it to be political. It was a casual conversation with one of my friends in this very apartment. Though he comes from a privileged caste or so, he said with his interactions with certain government officials in the Tamil Nadu state government, he said, though I do not agree with the ideology of Tamil Nadu government, it's one of the most efficient governments and ideologies. I asked him why. Then he said he has a company which has got 600 to 800 engineers employed. It's a healthcare app which functions from Melbourne, right? So when he conducts the online meetings or so, he finds people from unassuming backgrounds, from villages, from 3-tier, 4-tier towns who are engineers. We can make a statement engineering has ruined the ecosystem, more engineers but no job opportunities. No, let's not make such random statements. Even I made some statements long back. No, there is no much difference between what I earn and an engineer friend of mine is earning. After all, he spent more money than me. Now no comparison, right? 10 times more than what a professor earns they are making. Engineering and IT is the only source for quick upward social mobility in a more ethical manner in a caste and class divided, stratified Indian context. That has given dignity to many, maybe due to lack of financial literacy or lack of exposure to broaden their scope. Many would find themselves a failure, a few would, but that's not the case. No, even an ordinary graduate who just scraped through engineering is making a decent living. What we need is more financial literacy to inform them about how they save, how they earn, how they invest, and how they manage their debts, and all those are required. That the commercial culture industry or commodity fetishism no, tries to exploit them. These are the things cultural studies or literary narratives has to step in. You make money, good money, fine, don't that's no problem about it. But how do you save your own money? Right? Financial literacy, bringing in base superstructure model to understand exploitation and surplus. All these are the requirements that would resonate with the scientific spirit of the time. So pedagogical implication here is teachers become context engineers, prompt architects, and semantic curators, not passive deliverers of canonical knowledge. We incorporate testing that is AI driven so that we enhance prompt writing. We discuss a literary text. Our analysis is done through prompting. Generated content, we evaluate for its biases, authenticity, accuracy. That's how we produce new knowledge, right? And an editor from a journal from the United Kingdom, the Open University of London, while talking to our students, one of our students asked, what is your take on AI, using AI in research? He said, I have absolutely no problem. We were shocked because when I get 100 papers, almost 90 papers, they use AI. Some of the papers which use AI come up with new ideas. He says, what is my problem is hallucinating references. That is cooking up things which are not there. So a human oversight is required. These are the new skills that we should be teaching. Physics and chemistry, the Nobel Prizes in 23-24, they attributed to artificial intelligence, distributed cognition. So can use it, but to take scholarship to the next level, not to synthesize something which is already there, not to reinvent the wheel. That's where intellectuals criticize AI, saying, oh, to find this, you are using AI. They might make such statements. So the problem is not in using AI, rather in using it in a more inefficient manner. Next slide, sir. So how do we envision this shift in English studies? As we said, in terms of thinking, we must integrate causality-based logic and probability-based learning through teach algorithmic reasoning and critique. you make a prompt. I often say that when I write for newspaper articles or so, my prompt is around, if the essay is around 1,000 words, the prompt is also around 1,000 words. In different types of brainstorming, sorry, in terms of pre-writing strategies, those who teach writing skills for IL students or so, there are some 7 or 8 prominent pre-writing strategies. Pre-writing, before writing, brainstorming, mind mapping, word listing. These are some of SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, challenge analysis. These are some of the pre-writing strategies, of which one pre-writing strategy that should be the skill for the future is free writing. FREE, free writing. Writing whatever comes to your mind. Maybe you kindle the stream of consciousness, right? Write whatever comes to your mind in terms of the domain that you want to write about, the examples, your real life context, a literary example, right? That's where reading helps you. You free write it and you use the chatbot to rewrite it in a structured opinion article style narrative. That's where the causality based logic with which you create the prompt through free writing. Hope I'm making myself clear. If the connections I make from one to the other is not so clear, please let me know. So that when we prompt using our free writing, we use causality based logic, the carbon cognitive ecology, and the pattern seeking competency that is inherent to artificial intelligence, large language systems. They organize it. So it creates a probability based production. Now, the skill that we should be teaching apart from prompting is teach algorithmic reasoning and critique. It has generated a content. How to own that content, right? Step by step. One of the papers we wrote recently is critical thinking, significance of critical thinking in the AI-driven academic space, academic scape. Some 15, 16 strategies to critically evaluate the generated content, reread it. If it's not so convincing, reiterate the prompt. Create prompt loops one after the other. Add a new point in the third paragraph, something of that kind. You give the point. You use causality to insert a point, and it will make a probability-based calculation to give you a different version altogether. In terms of language, from metaphor analysis to symbolism, we move towards understanding data semantics, tokenization, how large language models understand meaning, how they understand meaning in different contexts, how they isolate a particular data from a larger group of data and that it gives to you. How did it make that connection that this is what you want, right? So this understanding should be reflected by incorporating semantic precision and ethical phrasing. Right? It's about critically evaluating the generated content. There you can use the list of theoretical tools that we have, starting from structuralism to post-structuralism, all the tools that we use. What I would say is the theoretical lens with which we read literature, continue reading AI generated contents, because those are the ones that control your consumer behavior. You switch on your TV, YouTube or so, it's the algorithms. Though we do not directly use chatbots, someone is using for you, or your algorithms use it for you. Sometimes the superiors in academic context, sometimes they say we do not use AI or so, but their subordinates for report making and stuff, the last moment of their deadline, they would be using it, right? So how the algorithmic behavior should be deciphered. So What do we have to decipher and deconstruct the algorithmic patterns? What better tools we have than our literary theoretical frameworks? A Marxist lens, a post-structural feminist lens, right? A post-human lens. These are the lens through which you can deconstruct algorithmic productions. Why is that? You should be able to break those bubbles. We should reinvent ourselves every other day. If your YouTube feed or your Insta feed sounds repetitive, which means we are inside an echo chamber that is interpellating us, or we are into a hegemonic circle. Probably Louis Althusser or Antonio Gramsci comes into play, from where you question yourselves, why is this coming to me again and again? Now, Girish Balachandran, in one of his articles, talks about truth in the age of social media. It's 10, 15 years old. If you can put that in today's context, truth in the age of artificial intelligence lies in talking to the text, talking to the AI generated content that comes to you. Why are you here in front of me? What do you want from me? What is the action you require from me? Are you forcing me to purchase something? Are you forcing me to switch my allegiance in terms of political understanding? Are you forcing me to be a consumer who would get into an endless shopping spree? Who is benefited out of this narrative? Sometimes fact checking alone is not required, is not sufficient. You might read about a communal violence in some part of a state in India, which can be true, but we must remember that it is something that's happening in isolation. Something that's happening in isolation. What does it mean? The moment it is repeatedly told, we think this state is known for us, an echo chamber. So even if it is true, since it is retold again and again, someone is benefited. Such critical questioning, suspicion. My supervisor, PhD supervisor guide, Dr. John Shaker says, he always says in the classroom that suspicion is an investment made by a critical thinker, a literary thinker. Suspicion. Why is what is said? Who says? What is not said? If something else is said, why is it said so? Such questioning is required. In terms of culture, from understanding culture as a narrative and an emotion, culture is now considered as codes, data narratives. So it's important for us to understand and teach narrative data literacy, how to interpret large data, how to interpret networks, how to interpret how networks are connected, nodes are connected, how cities or cityscapes are connected, how people in a cityscape. We say a cityscape is accessible. This society where I live in has 1,300 houses. It is so accessible because every day hundreds of Amazon people, Zepto people come in, or the housekeepers come in, security personnel come in, but it's not accessible to everyone alike, right? The people who are expected to maintain the well-tended atmosphere, ambience of the place are not considered clean. Obviously, no. After the construction of a metro space, after the construction of a temple, those who constructed, when they get in, it becomes impure. From that idea, we have not come out. They can add to the beauty of the city, but after adding the beauty, they should vanish. We expect them to vanish. Migrants, we want them to ensure more infrastructure, but after that, they should vanish. They should not be found in your eyesight. They can enter a place, but when they leave, their bags are frisked. Whether it is an academic space or an apartment, residential space or office space. Some elitists would say, even when we go to an airport, we are all frisked. No, what's the big deal? There's a difference, no? Everyone is frisked unless you have a diplomatic passport or so. When you enter, that too, when you enter, checking whether you are bringing something hazardous. But here, when you exit, potentially treating you as a robber, stealer because of your socio-economic conditions. They might not find anything abnormal with it because they do not have the vocabulary to speak it. Rather, we have the vocabulary to understand. No, so these are the kinds of narrative techniques that we'll have to, interpretive techniques that we'll have to rediscover from a literary point of view to a digital point of view. In terms of analyzing data, when someone makes questions, about differences in a country or so, if you say 100 big business personnel rich in the country, how many of those represent the downtrodden communities? Such data is required. Digital humanities is vibrant because humanities has been making such claims there is wealth divide. Now that we have digital tools to prove the larger world with data. So our critical questioning should wed with digital humanities, digital tools to make this humanist inquiry vibrant, subtle, and at the same time result oriented. So the human role in carbon cognitive ecology is a creator. Here it is a collaborator. So as I said, we'll have to encourage co-creation of knowledge. Next slide, sir. I can go on till 7:45, isn't it, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next.
Yes, sir.
Next.
Definitely, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
this one. Yeah. So I'll quickly go through this. So on the left-hand side, we have the skills that we have been doing in our English classes, right? Close reading, grammar and rhetoric, canonical criticism, communication theory. So they are relevant today. Fine. Foundation. As I said, they are significant. Just, as we say, just because wheels are old, they are not something which are not significant. They are significant, but they are evolving. Wheels, the way in which they operate, they evolve. We should be able to accept that evolution. That's the thing. So for a long time, I've been thinking, if technology is so revolutionary, it can revolutionize the way in which healthcare is understood. It can give you prosthetic limbs. Gene editing can correct visual impairment, which are hereditary in nature. Why do we not embrace technology completely? One is fear. Another thing is now even you would find people who advocate for new technology, after a point in time they say this is bad, and that becomes popular. Like the godfather of AI saying AI would do this, that. Of course, there are possibilities, but why is that they did not think before that? Because that gave them money. After no affluence, they say this is bad, this is right, because now it is democratized. Like Yuval Noah Harari saying we should go on an information diet. To put that phrase, he has more information than me. When he tells me to go on an information diet, which means I will remain ignorant. My ignorance is his bliss or anyone else's bliss. So how can we tell someone to go on an information diet? Even if we go on an eating spree, a consuming spree, we cannot process all the information that is required for our dignified living, right? So it's not that. When I was thinking about this, I thought the disturbance that what I have learned with laborious labor is going to be redundant, or it's going to be useless, disturbs me. Say, for example, when I came to Bangalore, one learning that I am proud of myself is to find, because when you learn something in a domain which is not yours, it's a simple thing. Within driving, parking in a space where there is only a space for one car in between two cars parallelly. We call it parallel parking. It's a skill which is required in Bangalore. Watching a couple of YouTube videos and serious practice in 1 or 2 days, we were able to master parallel parking. Now, wherever there is a small gap parallelly, we were able to park it. One day when I saw a Chinese company coming up with an idea that you don't have to take such risk, the wheels in itself tilt this way, 180 degree, and the car moves like this and parks itself. Then I thought, this is something I learned with lot of difficulty, which is going to be extinct in some point in time. Then I realized that is the problem with our acceptance towards technology. I have learned close reading. I have learned writing as a laborious task. It took years for me to write a quality academic writing, and I'm still not perfect. But today's students write it in a whisker, right? It's like saying, I did my PhD using typewriters so that every time I corrected mistakes, new mistakes come. Now that you have a backspace in your keyboard, since I wrote that way, you also do not use backspace. No, we'll have to accept that world is evolving, right? So these skills on the left side, they are significant, but are they sufficient is the question. They have relevance today, but the new pathways that are required, no, close reading should become more of a text analysis using prompt engineering, asking questions about the text. You upload the text in digital humanities tools like Vyant or something, or even a chat PDF, a normal free tool where you upload a text and you ask continuous questions about the text and take things that you want from the text. Whether it would replace close reading, this is called distant reading, no? That's a different argument, but it enhances your knowledge production process is the truth. Discourse architecture in AI communication, right? Conversing with machines, questioning their logic, questioning their pattern makes you more critical. People, we may have an idea that more use of AI would dampen our critical thinking. No, rather, if you confront it, if you confront its patterns. Once I said, someone told me that priest is more influential because the gods listen to them. They have the mantra to tune gods. If you want rain, only when we pray mantra, the rain comes or so. Then that day I was discussing with Gemini that if someone claims that they have the mantra to tune God, are they more powerful than gods? And Gemini says no. In Hindu understanding or any understanding, nobody is powerful than a god. Then I said, don't be apologetic. Don't be apologetic of a particular faith. Then you give an anecdote or a kind of an analogy. If there is a friend who doesn't do things on own, rather he does things based on my requests or my prayer. Now, who is more powerful? Naturally, I am more powerful than the person. Using the same analogy, if you pose questions, right? If someone claims that they are more, they are the ones who can influence gods, who is powerful here? Do you demean God here? Right? If you say, I have the chief minister of the country or the prime minister of the country says, someone says they do things only based on my insights. You do not say that you are big. Rather, you demean the prime minister of the country or the chief minister of the country. Right? Same happens to God also. Someone says that I can only pray and bring great things to you, meaning it's demeaning God. So such critical thinking comes out with constant chatting with these silicon-based intelligence, with our causality-based carbon intelligence. Canonical criticism is historically grounded. Rather, new pathways is to understand from its algorithmic bias or AI poetics for that matter. Understanding in terms of algorithmic bias. Communication theory was completely human driven. Now it is about user experience, UX design. They say, no, how to design a website, which one should be put where so that it's easy for, it's not about the author anymore. It is about who the user is and how well the user can use it. That's where data annotation plays a vital role, simplifying the data for larger democratic use. Next slide, sir. Quickly, we'll finish. Next slide, sir, please.
Sorry, just a minute. It's not moving here.
Sir, next slide.
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute.
Yeah. So what we are aiming at here is an intrapreneurial thinking, just like entrepreneurial thinking, building innovation within institutions through language and culture. We must encourage AI-centered humanities startups that informs healthcare, that informs engineering, that informs robotics, that informs traffic, that informs police systems, and every other domain of society. It's only a pilot study that I'm making, pilot kind of thinking aloud with a larger scholastic audience, encouraging AI-centered humanities startups. When we had a course on social consciousness, one of the outcomes should be socially relevant initiative within campus, wherein you solve real life problems. The housekeeping staff, where do they sit and eat? They do not sit and eat in front of us. When you find out, they sit in places that are not so hygienic. So you give them a solution. It's not that people who manage them are bad. We are less, we either neglect them or take them for granted, and or we do not have that thinking. See, imagine when you enter an office and when you leave every day, your security personnel is checking your bag. You will think of an alternative. No, same thing is happening with housekeeping staff. Because they are not us, we don't think of an alternative. So a day when top to bottom everyone is checked equally, the top brass will think of an alternative. That too, in a technology mediated world with CCTV cameras and all that, do we require that kind of a frisking? Right? So encourage AI-centered humanities startups, right? Ordering food while you walk to the cafeteria and you can collect it. You have now every other institution probably have an app to govern the attendance marks, website and all that. Just give a tab there so that students can order food and collect it and save time waiting in a crowded cafeteria or so, something like that. What it means is it empowers learners to earn by learning. One of the best practices of my alma mater, the American College, is earn while learning. That is, you help at the library or somewhere, you make some money. But earning by learning is, according to academicians of this time, you learn something, and by the time you complete your course, you also make a sustainable living out of what you learn. That gives you self-respect, dignity, and an economically reliant life. So empower learners to earn by learning, not merely earning while learning. So possible projects I've listed below, you can go through it. Next slide, please, sir. So teaching approaches should be prompt and context engineering, machine-human co-writing workshops, algorithmic rhetoric studios, that's critiquing persuasion with machine-mediated discourse, AI ethics case studies, apply literary and cultural theory to algorithmic dilemmas. So evaluating a prompt for its quality, the context that is given for its authenticity, and use the literary theories and criticism tools to decipher and deconstruct the AI-generated content. The research transition here is kind of a generative narratology, the narrative style, study of narrative techniques in generative AI, algorithmic style, or interpreting AI, hermeneutics, linguistic data activism. All these are the emerging transitions that would not only give us an intellectual forte, rather it will also give us an economical standpoint with which we can reinforce or revitalize the relevance of English studies in the contemporary context. Next slide, please, sir. Next slide, sir. Yeah, thank you. So, as I said before, we have come to the end of it. No, the previous one, yeah. The linguistic dimension of English studies rely on human lexicons and cultural metaphors. in terms of analyzing AI systems. Literary dimension, stories that sustain consciousness through AI ethics and data justice. So don't compromise on our critical inquiry, but bring that to a different platform where the world produces knowledge. Let's not do that in isolation. Let's step in and then question the differences within it. Cultural dimension, interpret technological identity, labor, bias, and emotion, kind of examples that I gave you. The fulcrum of such a shift is scientific temper. Nehru's discovery of India, and later in 1976 it became part of the Indian Constitution also. Article 51A(h) of the Indian Constitution talks about it is the duty of sorry, 1 minute. It is the duty of every citizen to develop scientific temper leading to critical inquiry and human reform. Openness to science, scientific temper meaning trying to understand things scientifically, right? Trying to understand narratives scientifically. That would be the shift that is required within the English studies. Maybe critiques of this would say, then what's the difference between science and arts and social sciences? But then the point is, only with the scientific fervor and temper, we can make use of a larger cultural critical perspective that would be life-changing in terms of a revolution or in terms of democratizing access to the downtrodden. Intelligibility and acceptability and livability of a social change is possible only when there is a scientific method, scientific approach. All the revolution you see, there is a scientific approach to it. There is a snowball effect or whatever. You can scientifically define anything, but lack of science pushes us to define things simplistically. It is its destiny, it happened. It had to happen, it happened. No, no. So there is a causality, there is a probability. Human intelligence can decipher the causality, machine can decipher the pattern. Bringing together, we can create new frontiers in English studies. Next slide, please, sir. So this is only a table. You can click pictures of it. I will also share. It's already shared with the organizers. They can share it with the audience as well. So emerging role, the competence required, and what English studies can do in terms of our curriculum is listed on the right hand side. It's self-explanatory. We have discussed this in detail till this point in time. You can have a look at it. Next slide, sir. So the most important aspect of this pedagogy, the post-human pedagogy, is it's less stress, less waste pedagogy. Some say even zero stress and zero waste. I do not make such tall claims because since it personalizes learning, it reduces anxiety. It's less waste because you do not spend hours together in terms of reading something which may not be really useful in terms of what you are looking into, review of literatures and all those things. You can leave lower order thinking skills to the artificial intelligence, less waste. So it's a circular pedagogy where classrooms becomes living lab where human and machine learning loops inform each other. So post-human pedagogy is sustainable cognition and ethical computation. Next slide, please, sir. So the way ahead, let's not prepare students for tomorrow. Let us create students who shape and inform tomorrow. We have always been told that we should create students who are employable tomorrow. Rather, we should empower students who would shape tomorrow's understanding of the world. Because world evolves, as I said, God evolves, nature evolves, right? And sometimes we often say, no, technology spoils nature. No, even before technology could interfere, there were asteroids, that destroyed the whole world, a larger part of the world. The dinosaurs had a bad day during one such attack. Now we have technology to deflect them. So tech-driven sustainability, environmental preservation, without sans consumerism, without commercialization of environmental resources, technology can be used to sustain ecosystems. So our villain here is not technology, but the human instinct, which is ruthlessly selfish in terms of commercial aspects. So integrate digital humanities and AI literacy, embed prompt in your assessment strategies, establish humanities AI collaboration, offer AI ethics certification within language and cultural studies as part of your departments that you can extend to the other domains as well, so that we might generate some revenue so that we have some self-respect within the academic systems. Promote policy advocacy linking creativity, cognition, and computation. So here I want to make a point. Maybe we'll go to the last slide and there I will. So these are the challenges. One such challenge is the resistance to technology, technophobia. There will be questions like, then who is the author? Is the author a human or a machine? Who has the agency? There are ambiguities, lack of regulation, accreditation barriers in terms of interdisciplinary courses. When I do interdisciplinary research, will I get a job? These are all systemic barriers. No, the question is, everything should stem from the fact that knowledge is distributed, knowledge production is distributed. So who is an author? The author is always a political position. A director makes a film and we attribute the director as the author, but it's a collective, altogether a collective effort that is transformed into a film. We don't even attribute to the directors, we attribute to actors. That's a different ball game altogether. Let's not discuss that at this point in time. But author to me is always contested because author is a political position, whether it is a Shakespeare or whatever the author is. One example is T.M. Krishna's book, Sebastian and Sons. When I say Mirdangam artist, why is that we think of a Mirdangam player and not a Mirdangam maker? Right? Sir C.V. Raman talks about the greatness of Mirdangam because it's the only percussion instrument that can blend with the human voice. He attributes praise on the Mirdangam, but the maker is not acknowledged. Palakkad Mani Iyer, the greatest of Mirdangam players in India, his house, one would see 50, 60 mirdangams. Each one would blend with the tonal quality of a singer with whom he performs. Who makes the mirdangam? The maker, not even allowed inside the sabha, would know the tonal quality of the singer, the finger touch of the player, the timbre of the singer, and also the quality of the hide, the leather that is used. But what is he paid? Where is he found in the social strata? Right? Once in that Sebastian and Sons by T.M. Krishna, there is a scene. The cow owner is asking for more money. So the Sebastian brings the cow and the cow owner to his house, the Mirdangam artist's house, and says he's asking for more money, so you give me some more. And this man says, you are polluting my space. You are bringing this animal here. You go take it somewhere, kill it, bring only the finished mirdangam. T.M. Krishna is writing, in between a Brahmin and a cow, a Dalit takes the blame of killing a cow, slaughtering a cow. Right? So who is an author here? Who is the mirdangam artist here? It's completely politically contested. So for introverts or socially underprivileged people, now you have a laptop or a phone with a chatbot with some exposure to prompting skills. You can make your own life. You can produce new knowledge. That's something that we should be looking at this point in time. Let's not put the author at the pedestal. Everyone is an author. What is an author? The author is dead, Roland Barthes says. The moment when the reader is born. So it's about the user experience. Now, A.R. Rahman, with this example, I may conclude. A.R. Rahman, when he brought in the keyboard synthesizers back in the 1980s, when he was a teenager playing keyboard for seasoned musicians, the criticism he received was the synthesizer would produce the sound which is produced by 50, 60 instrumentalists who are playing guitars and violins. So their job is displaced. No, even SPB would not whistle in his songs, though he likes whistling, because there is a person who is paid for whistling. So if he whistles, he might not get the money for that day. So it's easy to say Rahman bringing in a synthesizer would do away with the jobs of those who are playing manually. But the question is, where is dignity of labor? They were paid less and they had no dignity. If they commit a mistake, imagine it's not the digital recording of these times. One mistake a guitarist commits, the producer or the music composer throws anything that they have in their hand on their face. Derogatory words. Yeshudas or SPB can commit a mistake. They can go for a retake. They are legends, but not these people. But within 10, 20 years, what has happened is all those musicians who have basic theoretical understanding of how sound is produced, because they are musicians, how sound is synthesized, processed. With one laptop, their creative genius, they are all now music composers, whether we like it or not. That's how technology democratizes the space. You may talk about quality, quantity, it's completely subjective. Right? How many music composers we had in the 1980s and how many we have now? Artistic production, academic writing, research, and knowledge production today can be conceived as conceptual orchestration. You have your causality, carbon-based understanding, human memory, associating with different things. Use the pattern of a silicon-based intelligence and create wonders. That's the idea that I wanted to convey with post-human pedagogy that has to be integrated with English studies for a future relevant existence. The last slide, if at all, is one probably. So quickly, the scope and opportunities, I summarized it. When we can make use of our carbon-based intelligence in alignment with the silicon intelligence of the present time, we create wonders for tomorrow. It's not about AI replacing us. Rather, people who do not use AI might be replaced by people who use AI. So we must use it before it exploits us. Not to replace our intelligence, rather to enhance it to the next level. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You can place it on the key takeaways, sir. The previous one. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dear
Hope I
participants,
what I had in my mind here in a coherent manner. It was a long day, a lot of meetings and classes. I was a little tired though. Hope I was able to convey in a convincing manner.
yes, sir. So thank you, Dr. Jerosh,
Yeah.
for leading this digital shift. Now, I request the participants to unmute themselves and ask questions to the speaker. Or else you can use the chat box to post your questions. The floor is open for the question and answer session.
Thank you, sir. Maybe I tried answering most of the apprehensions that come to the minds of English scholars with my recent conversation with a lot of people involved in English studies policy making. So whenever I made a statement, I also tried answering the possible apprehensions as well. Yeah, there are Coursera has certain courses on I've completed two in terms of prompt engineering for educators. Coursera has one, prompt engineering for educators. It's a basic course to understand how to craft a prompt, assign roles to the chatbot, and all those. It's a certificate course. Some of the institutions give you Coursera access. If not, it would be around 3,000 or 4,000 rupees, I guess. But here they gave, that's what, cultural capital, non-financial assets of a person, as Pierre Bourdieu says. In some places, you are paid more, and you also get such perks to complete courses of this kind. That's where these are certain things we don't take into consideration when you talk of merit and all those stuff. No, that's more important. The cultural capital that the space gives you, the opportunities the space gives you, all those come into play in terms of our intelligence. And we simply say all that I have is natural. That's not the right way to understand intellectual progress.
Dear participants, you have granted the rights to unmute yourselves. So one by one, you can unmute and clarify your doubts with the speaker.
There are, to my limited knowledge, there are no specific course because it's at the ideation level. People, whenever we speak to policymakers about people at the policy making level, we have this again. I overuse this phrase, nostalgic gaze. They say, "How will English studies be irrelevant?" To be honest, we stay because of the mercy gaze of the other domains or the administrators. They think English is a comic relief, especially in an engineering college or a BBA dominant college. Just 2 days per week, so that 2 or 3 days there's a comic relief for the students also. We are in the mercy gaze. That's the reason why we don't take up such things seriously. Of course, me along with 4, 5 other scholars, we are working on a MOOC that would be soon uploaded in a platform where a literary analysis is powered through AI kind of prompting and context engineering. Otherwise, it's at a very nascent stage, because the point is we do not have the skills required to code and create a MOOC course and all that. That's the handicap which stops us from doing it. But with chat GPT and other chatbots helping us code, usually it is the coders who would lose the job first. Other domains, we need not be afraid of it. Think recently, I believe, in the government event where this laptops were given to students along with a Perplexity subscription, I believe, a student asked the minister PTR, Dr. PTR Palanivel Tyagarajan, that will AI remove us from our jobs? She was a history student. He said it would make your job easy. A research that an archaeological research that you would be doing in 6 months or 6 years, you can do it in a month. So if you know how to use it, it would speed up our search and take us to a level which we won't be able to achieve in a manual progression. So we need not be afraid of it actually. Otherwise, what will happen? What happened to horse riding will happen to English studies. When automobile cars came in, people thought, who would choose a car over a horse? But then within 10, 20 years, horse riding was restricted to a lane or the race where the rich look at it as a sport and the poor use it in places like Mysore, Ooty or Kodaikanal. And out of our mercy gaze, we give them an opportunity to take us for a ride and you pay them pittance. That would be the status of English studies, English language and literature in some time if we do not integrate such courses. So to answer your question, I have been searching for such courses where literary skills are required to analyze AI generated content. It's not there as of now. That's why with strong conviction, I make the statement: the missing link in AI revolution is humanities link, the context engineering link. So we are trying to come up with a course. I do not know how far it will be gaining popularity or so. But even before ideating it, monetizing it, I am sharing the idea with a larger audience, because even if you build on this idea and create something, I'm fine with it. What you are going to create is not something I am going to create, because even if we both use AI tools, even if we all of us use AI tools, we would end up finding different modules, because all of us are different. Our prompts would be different. So I don't mind people using this idea, building on it. Though if you have real penchant for coding and all that, you can come up with these modules. Nothing wrong in it. Even if all of us come up with a solution for different problems in English studies, it still not be sufficient. We need more theoretical frameworks for assessments, for teaching, learning, for practices. As of now, it's not there, I believe, but we should. The rise of the concept of otherism becoming blurred. In a post-human framework, should we stop viewing AI as a cheating tool? Yes, of course. Yeah. Yes, that's what I said with the example of Mirdangam artist, whether the player is the artist or the maker is the artist. When we detect, there will be hidden usage. Rather, we incorporate it, then there will be a more productive usage. We should view that as a co-author. We must ask questions like, okay, you have used AI to generate this. Where are you in this? I also have a chat GPT. How is this yours even after using a chat GPT? That difference you can envision only through the prompting. IIT Delhi recently came up with an idea of asking students to list their prompts as part of the references. MLA, APA, all have given, 9th edition of MLA has given no provision to cite your prompts as part of your idea generation. So, of course, you cannot attribute authorship to the machine. Rather, you can use it as a co-actant in your research process, right? So the next one, someone said the common idea is AI is redundant, which means people are using AI in a simplistic manner. No, someone is using AI to find out solutions to repair visual impairment, which is hereditary. Is it redundant and lacking creativity? It's about how we use it. Many people think AI is another Google, so they might think that it is redundant and lacking creativity. No, okay. Let me make this statement. Making use of AI personally, I believe I'm able to think more critically and more ethically challenging my own perspectives, and more importantly, I have multiplied twice or thrice my income, to be honest. So it is not a source of redundancy or lacking creativity, is my understanding. Any other question did I miss? I guess
So you answered all the questions, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are there any questions, dear participants? Saravanan sir, shall we close the session then? Sir, shall we close the session, sir? Jerosh sir?
Yeah.
Yes. So I think
Yes,
sir is in sending the link. So let us formally close the session.
not audible,
Thank you,
sir.
dear sir, for your wonderful presentation. It was phenomenal indeed, and it opened new areas of research, and also I could understand that through your presentation, there was a deep understanding or a connection between AI and the Marxist ideology, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, sir. All the examples, all the ideas that you shared with us were highly informative and thought-provoking. And thank you very much, sir, for spending your valuable time and enlightening us.
Thank you, sir.
On behalf of the Department of English, once again, I thank all the participants, and let us have one more yet another fruitful day tomorrow on the 4th day of the FDP. So thank you, sir. Thank you all. Kindly fill the feedback form.
Thank you. Thank you again to the
Thank you.
department, organizers, and the scholarly audience for your patient listening. So, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.